Let's do some practice matches with the Plurivalent style with Viktoria in the Tour 7 of Tennis Clash, a sports game published by Wi-Fi Studios. Note that when I say plurivalent style in this video, I mean it's an all-rounder style that can adapt to compete with several other styles of play. So let's talk about the first match that I play against a top opponent who clearly should have a higher number of trophies than 1,700. Playing versus a Kaito using choker chord, you definitely should try to hit hard down the line towards the corners or cross court, trying to hit difficult angles for your opponents. I mean, if you want to have a chance to outflank him for good or to force him to return a weak stroke, and then you will follow up with a devastating forehand, a bit like that, cross court, big cross court forehand, which is extremely difficult to return then for your opponent. Well, here he was extremely accurate. As you can see, that's someone who has a 60-something of agility. Well, you yourself have around a 50. It doesn't mean anything, almost, and you have to work hard behind to win the point. Well, you should try and take profit as much as possible of the Kaito's usual low serve to hit a very strong winning return. And the more strokes you start to have in a rally versus a high agility Kaito, and the more risk you have to lose the point. That's as simple as that. Simply because you will end up losing stamina, or you will end up being well behind in terms of agility or accuracy. I mean, your cycle of accuracy or of agility will be far and farther point hit after hit during the rally, so you will end up losing stamina and accuracy and agility. And very experienced Kaito players will only wait for that. Not very experienced players or who are not used to play at a high level in Tennis Clash will not exploit as much as other Kaito players. But this one is experienced Kaito players, so you gotta be careful to try to shorten the rally. Try to keep your head cool as well, because a lot of Kaito players, especially the ones very experienced and who are playing with high number of trophies, relatively high, in Tour 7, well, they will try to return this kind of return. You see? Very long one, flying out of the court, but if you don't have your head cool, well, you will hit them, and that will be a mistake. So I tried to do that. I tried to outflank Kaito in a lot of points, but beside the moment when I was not accurate, especially at the beginning of the match, my opponent was very accurate, so that doesn't help. So here, that was a little mistake for him, of course. Generally, it's the first one doing a big mistake that will lose the match in such a tight match. Anyway, he was pretty accurate, and well, with a 68 agility, 57 of forehand and backhand, which is very decent for Kaito. That's not easy. That was not easy for me. Okay. So fortunately, any Kaito has his weakness. This is the very low serve, so score the max of points when he serves. That will keep you alive in the match, and then take advantage of any mistake that your Kaito opponent player, as experienced as he can, will end up doing. Unless, well, if he is controlled by a top 50 player, and then they are very experienced and they commit very few errors. But in this second match, things are even worse. Of course, when a Kaito player uses the Siberian wire, he not only has long catch tier 2, but also the precision ability when returning our supposedly big forehands, which then become a kind of kitten scratch for them. Meow. Okay, fortunately, and you have to return very super fast. All their returns, you have to hit strong strokes versus their, yeah, with Siran wire. You gotta take advantage of the low serve of your Kaito opponent to hit impossible to return forehands, winner forehands, or well, critical drop shots. Things that very agile opponent, a very agile Kaito can't do anything versus, and that's the only way actually to get out perfectly to get through the challenge. Well, this Kaito, yeah, I try a difficult angle hit there. Like to play them. They don't work much when you are not in a good day, but when you are in good form, they work all the time, and well, that works really well versus Kaito players. 66, 58, 58 with Zebra and Wire. Well, that was a dangerous Kaito. I was glad I went through him. Okay, well, let's play the third match. So same thing in the third match with another Kaito player using Zebra and Wire. You gotta be strong on your forehand and should not lose focus on the permanent aim of outflanking your opponent. The advantage of trying and succeeding in outflanking your Kaito opponent is not really just for the sake of outflanking him. Actually, the secret is to outflank, not only to put him in a very difficult position, but to prepare for your next hit. Yeah. Actually, even if you don't put him in a very difficult position, thanks to strokes that are hitting tough spots on his court, you will start to set a kind of pressure on him, and well, he will not play with as much certainty that he can do whatever he wants with you. You gotta be strong mentally. You gotta show that you're not a kitten. That you're not going to scratch. You're not going to do meow. But you're going to play as a tiger. Yeah. Don't be afraid of the agility, the high agility. Well, I'm not talking about 73, 74 agility of the top 50 players, of course. I have a hard time with Viktoria countering those very high agility Kaito, but mostly because, well, they have both strong forehand, backhand as well. A lot of them have 60, very high agility, more than 60 forehand and backhand. And well, right now my Viktoria is only a level 11, and well, she needs like 40. At the time I'm recording, I say, the commentary of this video, but the matches that I play in this video, well, they were shot like more than 1 week ago. So before I recorded commentary, but what I mean is, at the time I'm recording the commentary, my Victoria's attributes are clearly not made to compete with those Kaito beasts that are in the top 50. So I'm waiting to level her up to level 12, and then I still need the 40 cards, 40 Victoria cards, and then, well, things will be better. I will get 5 more points for actually 6, but 5 important points to split on the most important attributes: forehand, backhand, agility. Well, a bit less stamina, but here we go. But well, leveling up will surely help a bit. Plus, I'm waiting to upgrade, to level up my the hammer and then the forge. Cabo load, I need only one more card to get it to level 11. Same thing. Okay. So as you can see, you don't have to try all the time to hit the corners. You can try to hit. The most important thing is to hit strong forehands enough for your Kaito players to not have enough time to anticipate or to get very near, to get his cycle of agility and of accuracy near the spot where your ball hits. This match was clearly played versus an opponent who was dumping trophies. Kaito's stats were well enough to have a much higher number of trophies. Well, this fifth match versus Andy's 7 will not be as tight as the previous. But as you're going to see, it's only because this opponent does not anticipate a lot and does not anticipate them as good as the previous players. He did have well enough agility, but well, at the moment, you know, you can buy AP cards, but you cannot buy experience. So you cannot buy the practice. It's called training. You have to train, and if possible, you have to train in Tour 7 at least at the minimum. If you haven't unlocked the Tour 8 yet, and then you will train into the Tour 8 when you have enough coins, of course, and enough attributes, because, well, it will cost a lot of money, 400,000 coins per match. So if you lose 2 matches, well, you have lost almost 1 million coins. So better green before you go there. Well, in the Tour 7, if you are in the Master 2 league, that's way enough to lose a lot of coins, actually. When you match up versus top 50 players too regularly, a bit like me. At one point, I couldn't know why Tennis Clash kept giving me Halep, Vida, Fly Jamming. Can't believe it. A bit less Fly Jamming lately because, well, he apparently has gone to play in the Tour 8 much more regularly, but Halep is focusing on playing in the Tour 7 because, well, he has a goal of having 1 billion of coins in Tennis Clash, and he's grinding a lot of matches there to get there. And obviously it's more secure. It's easier to win in the Tour 7 than to win in the Tour 8. Because, well, you have a lot of players of the Fly and the Ace clans. You know, those players having the word Fly or Ace, ACE, at the beginning of their nickname, of their player's name. Well, they have the bad reputation to give trophies between them. You know, the player having a higher number of trophy will give the match to the other when they face each other. And that's not very fair, but, well, what can you do? It's principle of groups of players. and where they help each other in the tournaments as well when they face each other. So in the challenger level, and that creates an unhealthy challenge. Yep, it's not very good for the competition. So far, I would say that this plurivalent kind of all-around style suits me well. It actually looks the most to what real tennis should be. As I said in previous videos, in real life, you should try to play tennis as the level, which allows you to counter different play styles. You should try and have this kind of build as well. A descent in all shots and only in a big shot like a big forehand or big backhand. And, well, like all other play styles, the plurivalent style has its pros and cons, naturally. It allows us not to be too easily fooled by drop shots, and allows us to serve decently, especially if we can hit good spots on the service boxes, and then to follow up with a big forehand if there is an opportunity. And the weaker backhand is nevertheless enough to hit a decent return when the opponent hits on your backhand. It will not be too weak, and you won't risk to commit an unforced error too easily. But because it's specifically a plurivalent style, you have no real advantage over your opponent, except for the forehand, which can compete and should be your main weapon here. Your serve needs to be well placed to be a minimum effective, otherwise will be countered very easily by your opponent, especially if it's a Kaito having high agility and a good forehand and backhand. You will not be very quick to move on the court, but not too slow anymore. Your backhand is there to counter a bit better than if it was too weak. And with that soft backhand and just decent serve and agility, well, you should play with a string in tour 7, I mean. I like to use the swallow pulley or the stirrer twine. Swallow pulley is cheap. Well, it's cheap when you have gems enough. But when you play in tour 7, you gotta go there with a minimum of gems, because you can barely play now in tour 7 with a nylon string. Unless you play with a power serve plus strong or forehand build, but even with that, not easy. So I would say that this plurivalent style works above all versus players who don't have very high agility, like Viktoria, and or who haven't trained enough to return most of the time on your weakest hand, meaning my backhand as far as I'm concerned, with this plurivalent style. But it's a bit hard to try and return all the time on the backhand anyway. So don't be afraid of that. Anticipate, of course. Try and read your opponent's play pattern, and try and anticipate to be ready to turn around the ball to get on your forehand and hit your opponent hard with your big forehand. Well, I hope you enjoy watching me do some practice matches with the Plurivalent style with Viktoria in the Tour 7 of Tennis Clash, a sports game published by Wi-Fi Studios. Is my lineup, even if the attributes are slightly different from the one that you have seen in the other matches, because, well, I have leveled up those cards a bit. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel Gameplay 365 to stay tuned for new videos of Tennis Clash. Thank you a lot for your support, and see you soon on Gameplay 365. Bye bye.